Actually should be more. Hello guys and welcome to another video. If you don't know me, my name is Dennis. I'm also the guy behind ACD Unlimited, and today I'm back with another video. Obviously I want to talk a little bit about this guy. It's Trick Pro 1V, I guess. Basically I just want to make a video about trick pedals and my upgrades for trick pedals, because they are a little bit more on the unique side, if you like to call it that way. The thing that's probably unique to trick pedals, because they have a patent on that stuff, is the compression spring. So you can't see any conventional stretching spring. Is that the correct English phrase? I don't know, please let me know. It has a compression spring, so if we take off this cover, you can actually see what I'm talking about. This has already one of my upgrades installed, but you can see this is some sort of compression spring. So when I'm moving the footboard and the beater, there's a ball bearing connected with this whole beater cam thing, and that's actually pressing against a metal bar, and that metal bar is pressing against the spring. So that's the whole explanation. I assume, without don't take me too serious, but I assume the whole thing started here. This is an old hammer pedal. I actually honestly don't know how old it is, but I think it's from the 80s. I picked it up at the vintage custom drum show. It's the Crash It in Mannheim. It's a vintage and custom drum meeting, or was, because of Corona. It's not happening this year. I hope it will happen next year. And that's actually the same mechanism as this pedal, just inferior, just switched for about 90 degrees to downside. I hope it's visible here because it's full of grease and a little disgusting. But this is the same concept. This is an eccentric bar pressing down on a cylinder, and inside here is a compression spring again. So if I'm moving that thing, I hope you can see it, this eccentric bar is pushing the cylinder down again. So the main difference, obviously, between those two concepts is its size. This is pretty old, a little bit rough made, and this is way bigger made, a little bit more technical with this bearing and that stuff. But the thing is, some people, as far as I heard, struggling a bit with actually the tight feeling, or the very, very tight feeling of these trick pedals, because they're getting from pretty loose and quite okay to play to super hard within quite a short beater angle, beater range. And one of the reasons behind that is the whole geometry of this, let's say, some more or less improved concept of this compression spring. As you can see here, everything is quite small, quite compact. And also, when I push down the footboard and the beater starts to move, this eccentric bar is not pushing the whole spring that far. So it's more or less a tiny movement within a large beater range. So this pedal feels quite close to a conventional tension spring pedal. It's feeling, actually, for its age and its quirkiness, it feels super nice. I really enjoy playing this pedal every now and then. So and the reason behind that is because there's not that much extra tension getting built up within the whole process of the swinging beater. On the other side, with this trick pedal, there's already an upgrade of mine installed, so it's a little bit different, but you should imagine what I'm talking about. The thing is, since this bearing here is traveling on a huge radius, it's starting here with some tiny movements, but if I press deeper into the pedal, the whole thing, the deeper I'm pressing into the pedal, the more this metal bar gets pushed against the whole spring, and that can get the feeling of a pedal that actually feels too tight and hard to control. But on the other side, if you loosen the spring too much, you're losing control again on the other end of the tension. So that was one thing I heard quite often from customers reaching out to me when purchasing a hoop clamp upgrade or another upgrade I made for trick pedals. Another thing is that this is the original part, the stock part of the current version of the trick pedals, I think, of the Bigfoot Pro 1V, and also the Dominator is the third one called, I assume. And this bar is made from aluminum, and it's anodized, so it's a coating on top, a chemical coating. I don't know if it's a hard anodizing, which is the definition of a thicker coating, which is more durable, or if it's just a regular anodizing. The thing is, there's a groove here where this ball bearing runs in usually, and when you play the pedal, the ball bearing is always running back and forward on the same path. And the problem here could be, and is on some pedals and from customers, that this bias rod, I think they used to call them that way, can develop some sort of little groove. So actually this coating wears, and then the blank aluminum shows its weakness, and it's a tiny little groove, barely visible from eye, but it can lead to a situation where you actually hear a click sound every now and then when the beta is moving, so like click, 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 and also you will start to feel this little groove, this little gap inside the spiros rod. So my personal impression is that is probably not the best idea making this part from aluminum, because in perspective of weight, you assume if this part is super light, it's super cool and super beneficial for this whole setup, but actually the center of gravity, if you make it more massive, is always down here, and this thing is moving this tiny little bit, so there's not that much mass going on and not that much mass to be moved back and forward that actually makes a difference, in my personal opinion. Believe whatever you want, feel free to do so, please. It's always good to question things. But yeah, long story short, after some research and some long nights on the computer, I ended up with 3 different versions of my attempt of these Biros rods upgrades. One thing, first, if this upgrade or if this Biros rod looks a little bit different, you might have an older version of these trick pedals. They are compatible as well, but you need to reach out to me in case you want to try them out, because you need a different washer and a different Allen key to install them, but they will work for sure. Long story short, I ended up with these 3 versions. The middle one is basically an improved and more durable version of the original straight geometry. So there is nothing that will change in terms of feeling. The main difference is that this part is entirely made from stainless steel, which gives the whole thing a little bit more strength and obviously a way more durable surface where the bearing can run on. And yeah, the issue with developing this notch, this little gap, this clicking sound is gone forever with this one. The ball bearing and dimension is more or less the same, so there is no improvement or no downgrade when it comes to that side. Also, it fits in. I will show you it in a minute how to install that thing, but it fits in like a glove, like the stock part, which is quite cool in terms of the concept. The other 2 upgrades I have is 2 radiuses. One of them, I think, this is the R1 and the R2. This one is a little bit more extreme than the R1. The R2 version is, I think, currently installed here. And the thing behind that is I wanted to compensate the situation I showed you earlier, where this beta or the whole spring movement hits like a wall. So it's moving quite easily, and until a certain point it develops so much tension in very, very, very tiny beta angle that it feels like you're actually playing against the wall, and it's becoming super, super tight and inefficient to play. So you need to take care when playing this compression spring type pedals, that you have a more or less tight spring setup and not that much of a beta angle. But yeah, with that upgrade I wanted to get closer to the feeling of this pedal, which, as I said, has a more natural, more soft and relaxed, let's say, progression of gaining extra spring tension. So both of them just allow the ball bearing run on this surface, but because there is a radius, it's basically stretching a little bit the movement of this bar pressing against the spring. So compared to the straight geometry here, this one allows the ball bearing to roll down while adding less tension to the compression spring on the same beta angle. So as I said, you have a more natural feeling of playing this pedal. And actually you can play a larger beta angle without having the issue or the potential issue of hitting an invisible wall just because the spring gets so tight. These two geometries actually are not that far apart from each other. If you really like to play a regular tension spring related, a regular drum pedal with a tension spring, let's call it this way, you might really like to try out this R2 radius. If you're somewhere in between where you actually like the feeling of the compression spring, of the stock trick pedal feeling, and the regular tension pedal, you might want to try out the R1 version, which is basically just a version in between the straight one and the quite extreme radius here. So it will give you a little bit of relief and a little bit of extra beta movement without probably being too loose over a large beta angle. So it's a little bit hard to describe. You can also just give them a try and send me back the version you don't really like or like the least, and just keep the version you're really, really happy with. That's always something I'm really, really, really passionate about. That I want, if you purchase upgrade from me, I want that it makes sense to you and it should fulfill any expectations or actually overcome any expectations. So yeah, with that being said, this bias rod comes completely assembled. So with the ball bearing already assembled, this little plastic washer which is necessary for the R1 and R2 versions. And also comes with an Allen key to loosen this screw down here, actually to disassemble, remove it. So long story short, the only two things you need to know and need are the Allen key that comes with the upgrade and the Allen key that comes with the pedal to remove this cover or to install the slave beta assembly. After that, you can just remove this screw. If this screw sits too tight, that means that there's probably a lot of Loctite going on. So heating up this screw might lose the Loctite. Also beneficial is to just lose the spring tension completely. So once that's away, you can just put out the bias rod. It's a little bit tricky because that's actually should be more prepared with that, showing you that. So yeah, actually here it is, and the whole bias rod is just, there's a screw, there's a washer down here, and that's it. So when installing that, I mean, you can completely remove the whole spring assembly. It's easy job to getting that back together, but I advise you to just stick the screw in, put the washer on, and then just tilt this whole thing and just try to put it in where it's used to be. It's way easier when this whole spring assembly is removed, so I should have done that before I attempt to show you how this whole thing works and how easy it is to actually change the whole thing. And then the only thing you need to do is getting this whole spring thing in again, and make sure that this notch here is sitting in the groove, the hole that is in the bias rod upgrade, to be sure that it has a secure fit and doesn't move around. Just move in the whole spring adjustment again, and that's basically it. You're ready to enjoy the pedal. If you hear any noise any creaking noise that can come from the ball bearing here inside. If possible, just apply some grease. Usually when this pedal gets delivered, there's plenty of grease around the bearing and this whole bias rod. So just take a little bit of this grease and then rub it around here, and this noise will be gone forever. I think that's it with this bias rod upgrade. So if you have any questions, as usual, feel free to just write me an email. I try to look at the comment section as well, but always and honestly the best way to reach out to me is writing me an email. So have a nice day, have a nice week, and see you soon. Cheers!